Hello, everybody. What up? What up? It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Man, do we have a really fantastic show for you guys tonight. I have remote viewed, yes, the drones. The drones swarm, I guess. Attack of the drones over New Jersey and a couple of other targets from Barry that do involve real life UFOs. And I'm not saying, I guess those drones are considered UFOs, right? Because they're unidentified. And so we're going to get into all of that tonight. I have not been following that very much. My mother has, though, and she sent me a screenshot of some good information on them as well. And so we're going to be going over these targets tonight. Barry Littleton is here with us tonight. He is in the studio live and direct. So it's actually going to be a pretty fun show tonight with Barry. He gave me two targets. They involve UFOs. And so I don't know all the details on those. He did post those on his Facebook page today. I did share those out. And in the chat right now, we have some links that Barry has posted himself of some videos that he has done that are featured on his YouTube channel, Barry Littleton. So you guys go check out those links. Especially while I'm doing the intro right now, it'd be a great time to watch those if you guys want to see each of those. We got a couple minutes before I bring Barry up because I got to do my normal spiel over here and get some business taken care of. Okay, so y'all go check out those links to some of Barry's videos. Definitely go subscribe to his channel and save those videos to either watch now or later. Okay. And thank you guys so much for being here. I am so excited to have I have the best chat, the best live audience on the internet. I stand by that 100%. You guys are the best. I have the best moderators, the best channel members, the best Patreon members, the best viewers, the best friends, the best everybody. Okay. So thank you all so much for all your love and support. And the support of my channel. It's amazing. If you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and check out my archives of shows, and you can get my history from the time I started Bigfooting and all that kind of stuff, go to my website, thecryptidhuntress.com, for all the information that you might want on the Cryptid Huntress herself. And a calendar of events is listed down there at the very bottom of my website. So if you guys would like to come join me at any kind of speaking events that I'm going to be at, conferences, Bigfoot town halls, it's all there on my website. It's also down here on the ticker. The Georgia Bigfoot conference is coming up in March. I have the East Alabama Bigfoot town hall coming up in January. I was going to say June, but January 18th. So that's just, it's in a month. So y'all come see me over there in Opelika, Alabama. And the Full Disclosure Now conference, that's coming up in July. I've got the World UFO Conference here in Georgia sometime too. So y'all, I'll just go check it out on my website. Also, if you guys would like to follow along with all of the data for these targets, I have 3 targets, y'all. Tonight we are discussing 3 separate coordinate remote viewing targets. All of that data is posted on my Patreon for the members of my Patreon. Thank you guys so much for your support. I think there's like 5 VIP members that I don't have your addresses. I sent out all the gifts. I do have a gift that I would send out to my VIP members every month, as long as you're a VIP member of my Patreon. And I sent those out, and there's like 5 of y'all. I still don't have your addresses. So please send them to me. If you haven't already sent me your address, I got something for you. Okay. So thank you. If you'd like to become a member, I will send you a gift too. If you become a VIP member of my Patreon. I love my normal members, all my members, love all you guys. But yes, those VIP members do get a gift every month from my shop. It's usually some Cryptid Huntress merch or some jewelry or something. So, thank y'all so much for being members. But all my data is posted there in my Patreon right now with the information on all of these targets. And speaking of also supporting the Cryptid Huntress, thank y'all so much for your support with my shop. It's called War Woman Goods. Y'all have gone far and beyond. I know it's y'all buying my jewelry and stuff. Thank y'all so much for that. It's been amazing. Thank y'all so much for your support. If you'd like to do your Christmas shopping, I do mail the stuff out. I try to mail it out like the next day. Okay, if you order something from my shop, it'll get to you in time. And also, one more thing before we get the show going, please go to relicsbooks.com and buy the series, Relic series by John Vendeventer. We love you, John, and hope you're feeling okay today. And yes, y'all please go support our good friend John Vendeventer with the Relics book series, and say a prayer for him and lift him up, and pray for good health for him, and that he can get back to see us next year and come back on the show. Okay, let's do this, y'all. Let's get into these drones tonight, because this could be a threat, right, to our national security. We don't know what these things are. I want to know from the audience, do you guys think these are, before we start, y'all can put it in the comments. I haven't looked at the comments yet. Do you guys think that these drones are extraterrestrial, or do you think they are government? Do you think that they're a threat? What do y'all think? Please put it in the chat right now, and let us know. I'm going to go through and maybe pull some of those up tonight. So we'll see what you guys think. All right, let's do this. All right, dozens of mysterious drones have been spotted flying over New Jersey in the northeastern area of the United States in recent weeks, and have been seen flying over critical infrastructure such as U.S. military research facilities and police departments. The drones appeared larger than hobbyist drones, which are used for recreational purposes, and have been spotted almost every night over the northeastern United States since November the 18th, 2024. They were initially sighted near the Picatinny Arsenal, a U.S. military research and manufacturing facility. Law officials initially described the drones as nefarious in nature. The Pentagon and the FBI have been unable to say who is operating these drones. So what are these unidentified flying objects? Who or what is controlling them? And what's going on with all that? Also, I have two targets from Barry. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what these targets are before I bring Barry up tonight. We have one of the targets he tasked me with is the insides of the 1951 East Korea UFO seen over the China Sea. And there's another one. It's the 1950 UFO seen by Paul Trent over McMinnville, Oregon. Nearly identical craft that have been sighted in France and in Poland. We've got pictures. We've got things to show you guys tonight. Please help me welcome to the show our very good friend, my good friend, Mr. Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Oh. Hey, what's up, Jessica? What's happening? Thanks for having me. This will be fun, and hello to everybody in chat. Looking forward to this one. It's a little bit different, and I think it'll just be just cool and some fun. You know what I mean? And sometimes I like, because some of the things that we do are not commercial, they're not cookie cutter. And as usual, this time here, I got a little bit more than what I bargained for. You know what I mean? I didn't think you'd. So it's cool. Thanks for doing the targets, and I appreciate the support I get from everybody in your group too. Done a lot of sessions with people. People come to my YouTube, so thank you very much. It's much appreciated.
Well, of course, you don't got to thank me, man. I'm just excited that you're here tonight, and I know you gave me that, at least that one target a while back, and you kept asking me. I was like, "Have you done that target yet?" I just have been so busy. I had not gotten around to it, and so we've got it done. And it just so happens to correlate. I'm not going to say it correlates exactly, but it lines up with what we're talking about tonight with these drones, too. A lot of strange things, and talking about swarms of UFOs, swarms of drones, swarms of orbs. Right?
Something. Yeah, and something that they call UFO. That can be termed UFO mitosis, and for things that are like the excuse me, that is the actually the craft that reproduce and that are alive, and that some of them actually have an asexual type of reproduction that is similar to a type of symbiotic cell division. It's mitosis. So it's things like that we just need to understand and expand our parameters a little. And since we're talking about drones that are, you said something real interesting before you brought me up. You ask everybody, what do they think, that they're extraterrestrials or that they're terrestrial or man-made or what? You know, before we get into the data, I think maybe we should mention the dragonfly drones, which just disappeared and people quit talking about. And that's what appeared in the back, it was late 90s. They're called the Chad dragonfly drones, early 2000s. And they were found in that they were seen, and there are a few pictures of them, and they're these very bizarre looking self-automated type of drone type of things that had these very odd signatures on them, these odd symbols on them. And it was supposed to be connected to what was called the Carrot Laboratories in Silicon Valley. And the Carrot stands for, hold on, let me try to look at it. It's the Commercial Applications Research for Extraterrestrial Technology. Now, Linda Moulton Howe and Earth Files, they did a bunch of things on that. And she had people analyzing the photos. And later on, people were trying to say, oh, there's just a fake this and that. But that was never proven. And these drones were seen in several places just for one quick period. All right. And when you start looking at I've done some videos on, that's one video I didn't put up. I apologize. It's called From the Chad Dragonfly Drones to Black Eye Kids. And I show the pictures of everything I have about the Carrot, including the designs that were supposed to come out of Carrot that look a lot like crop circles. You see, so these are things, but that just kind of went away. And something else I'll throw in with that too, where these drones were seen, the trees around in that area, several of the trees that they were near were suffering from some type of a damage, a type of, oh gosh, I can't remember exactly. I've gotten that video, what the type of damage they had, but it showed it's like similar to a high plasma type of damage. So, you know, these are things that need to be really looked at. And I've spoken a lot about how there's a connection with trees and so many of the craft that we see that are specifically non-terrestrial. Anyway, I just want to just bring that up, the Chad Dragonfly drones, because you mentioned that. I thought it was really cool. So anyway.
Yeah. No, I think that's very relevant. And stuff that I love to connect the dots. And you and I connect a lot of dots when it comes to stuff like this. And this is, I think that this is an important topic. And I'm reading through the chat right now, and I'm seeing a lot of people believe that it's government, you know, government, maybe waking up the normies. I've seen a couple of times in here. It's almost like an event to kind of wake people up. It's like getting everybody's feet wet. Okay, potentially that could be it. I think Candy said it was Amazon, practicing their deliveries or something. There it is, Amazon delivery service test. Might be, Candy. That's a good one. It could be. We just don't really know what it is. But well, I think,
you know,
I know what it is.
I would already agree with what they're saying. Absolutely. You know, and that's what'll be cool about the other two targets you did, is that they predate the drone era long before.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Anyway, so yeah.
Perfect. No, this is perfect because it's so wild that this has been going on for a long time. Okay, this has been going on, and this is nothing new. Now, the drones, as we know them, like the recreational type drones, especially, those are new to us, right? But a lot of these things that we're seeing right now, they've been around for a long time. I mean, you know, and I did go back and I had done that remote viewing target of the UFOs over the White House. That was in 1952. So that's around the exact same era as these UFOs that you gave me as targets. That's that same time period right there. And there was a swarm of UFOs. A swarm. Okay. So here we go. It's 2024. Okay. It's a long time. It's like, what, 75 years? Something like that. Okay. Since all that happened. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. We're gonna dive into it.
I always try to reserve judgments on all, but I've met some interesting people, especially like at some of these conferences, and who I wound up sitting with at the table in Vegas, sitting right next to me, and he got all these awards, and his wife got awards too. You know, these things gives everybody awards. But
Oh my
anyway,
gosh, I love that. I know. I
it
remember when
was
people giving their own friends awards and stuff. I don't know who you're talking about, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah. I see.
I'd be
Don't
like,
get me
me and you
started,
giving
Jones.
each other awards.
I'm in a few
Yeah,
of those functions. Yeah, even before I even dealt with this, yeah, some people that have these big organizations to give each other's awards. It's interesting.
I know. I've been there.
but
I know what you're talking about.
but sitting there, stop. I'll get off track. Everybody's get mad. Okay, so yeah, the gentleman sitting next to me was Daryl Anka, and he does that whole Bashar thing, and I'm not super into channelings. No disrespect to anybody, but they can't always be trusted. But some of the stuff he presents is good. It's interesting, And I was watching one of these reels with him, and he was saying that this Bashar is saying that there's going to be a contact event, a major one, somewhere between 2026 and 27, a big one that changes the whole world, that everyone's going to know about. And I've told you before, I've seen a timeline like that. And this whole fake alien invasion thing is trying to mess up. So I just found it very interesting, when this being was talking about that. And one thing about that, although I'm not real into channelings and things, but there's some things that being has said before through him that are like things that I can attest to, that are some of these entities, these extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, whatever they are, when you're not face to face with them, you have a hard time retaining the memory of them. And you've just been in contact, you talk to somebody, but you can't. What? You know what I mean? And it's very interesting. I've mentioned that before a lot. And I don't know if it's for some species, it's a natural vibration that's there faster than us, or if it's a defense mechanism that evolves into their biofield, or both. Food for thought. Anyway, sorry, you probably want to get the data and stuff.
Yeah.
Over the
Oh
drones.
no. Well, I was actually just looking over this article that I have here. Okay. I just want to preface this by saying this is the first time I've ever actually quoted a CNN article. Okay, so please take this with a grain of salt, everyone. Okay. So I don't usually, unless we're, I'd rather go to TikTok. I'm just saying. But anyways, I'm gonna read some of this because it is pertinent information here.
Cool.
And it is.
What's up, Kira?
Hey, Kira, thank you for being here. It is quoting the national security. I think this is the White House National Security Communications Advisor. Okay, the current one right now. We got to keep our ear to the street, no matter what news source we're using. But just be aware. This is what I'm looking into. I'm quoting right now. Hey, Renee. Okay, I'm going to tell you what he says. Okay, so we've gone through weeks of these drones. Okay, weeks of drone sightings in New Jersey. They've left residents, politicians, and public safety officials scratching their heads and prompting security concerns, with residents and multiple public officials calling for a response to the drone activity and experts working to uncover exactly what's going on. White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby on Thursday, today, sought to assure the public that there's no y'all, I can't read tonight. I can't see. It's too dark in here. But he's assuring the public that there's no threat to public safety. Okay, my question right now, and I'm going to just take a little commercial break. How does this person know that there's no safety threat if they don't even know what these things are, where they're coming from? That doesn't make sense. I mean, normally, okay, listen, here, I'm an American. We like to shoot things. I'm just saying. I'm not saying I like to shoot things. I'm just saying if something like this shows up, normally they'd blow it out of the sky, right? That we're in America, right? Why are they not doing that? Well, it seems sus. Maybe it belongs to America. Kind of like those dog men they don't want anybody to hurt out there. Assets, maybe? What do you think, Barry? Before I go on, I see you trying not to laugh.
It's okay. Well, people always get upset with it. I get spoken to by spirit references by entertainment. Look, you said the gentleman's name was John Kirby. Okay, look. When I was a kid, one of the first Chuck Norris movies I saw was called Silent Rage. And the villain in that was this serial killer that could regenerate his cells because they pumped him with something, and his name was John Kirby. So when you say that name, that's immediately what I think of. So sorry, just because that's simple reference for me, I wouldn't believe anything that individual has to say. And I agree. Unless you can only make that statement if you have previous knowledge of what they actually are and where they're from and what they are. Or you can't make any determination like that at all. They could be carrying pathogens or anything,
Yeah. It's just suspicious that they're not, they're saying they're not a threat. But, oh, by the way, while I'm doing my mom sent me a screenshot from her television. Okay. And so I'm going to put this up. This was I guess this was today. It says drone regulation. So this is what's going on with these drones. It says any drone can legally fly up to 400 feet high and must weigh under 55 pounds, comply with remote ID system on detectable frequency. Told y'all I can't see. I'm sorry. Operate with lights on at night. Penalties for violations, fines up to $75,000. Okay, $75,000. So that's the drone regulations. I guess that's like federal, I'm assuming. I don't know. I don't have a drone, but I'm assuming those would be federal laws. Wouldn't they, Barry?
My cousin, my first cousin, Victor, he is into the drones. And so is the gentleman that I had did my first interview ever with, Spicer. He's also they're both into these drones. And Victor's got some, I mean, they're way high thousands of dollars. One of them he was showing. And he was talking about all these regulations. And being the air capital of the world, we've got an Air Force base right on the side of town, and how they can't fly drones anywhere in certain proximity. And there's a whole bunch of regulations he had. So, I mean, it's, I know it's real serious in that way. But by the same token, when you have these dark projects, I mean, who are they adhering to?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Renee says, hey, Renee, the FAA regulates drones as they do aircraft. Local law enforcement and civilians can't touch them and will fall under penalty from the FAA. Ooh, so we can't just pew those things out of the sky, huh?
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
I know here there's something about you can't point not just lasers at aircraft, but at those things either.
Really?
That laser pointing, yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
Well, I did not know that. There's a bunch of them. I mean, I've seen videos of them. I don't usually show videos on my channel. I don't want to get like copyrights and stuff. But there's videos of these things like moving just like in those bursts that you've talked about in your videos, Barry. It's a swarms. And it looks, it looks like UFOs. So like to the normal person, it's like, wow, those are just like UFOs dancing around each other. There's a bunch of them. But I mean, us knowing what we know, it's like, well,
the first ones that really got me, it was probably going back to maybe 2011, maybe 2012, 2011, but they were the drones that were doing the circle over like the Lexor in Vegas, and they looked like they were making DNA.
Oh,
I mean, that I didn't know that's the first time. That's the most advanced drone display I'd seen at that point. And they look like UFOs. And, and it's interesting how many of these things mimic. And I know without spoiling anything, one of the things that you're going to show in your data is the back engineering of some things I'm showing in those videos as far as propulsion, life energy, propulsion, orgone propulsion, and these type of craft that actually that actually function on life energy. It's a whole nother thing going on, you see, and what they're doing is back engineering that from the organic aspect, I think, and trying to meld the nut and bolts, and it's the organic, and that's it's not good.
Okay. I'm just looking at Renee's comment right here too. Thank you so much for being here, Renee. I know they are government controlled and operated. They are building a FF. Y'all know what that means? event. In case you didn't know, I say FF. It's on the screen. Event. Okay. Well, let's get in. Let me get into a little bit more of what's going on right now. Okay?
Sounds like you're saying FB. No, I'm just kidding.
Or you can FAFO if like boss man. I can't. Why can we not talk tonight? I'm having a hard time too. Boss monster says FAFO. I like that. So okay. Let me get a little bit more into this right here. We have not gotten into the topic of people coming and storming Area 51, Andrew. Maybe we can do that another time. Okay, hey Robin, thank you for being here. Okay, here we go. So Mr. John Kirby says, we have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or public safety threat or have a foreign nexus. While many drone sightings have been reported, Kirby said images and videos of the drones and authorities and state and local law enforcement have reviewed appear to show that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The FBI, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and other federal and state agencies continue to deploy personnel and technology to investigate the situation and confirm whether the reported drone flights are actually drones or instead manned aircraft or otherwise inaccurate sightings. The FBI and DHS said in a joint statement on Thursday. That was today. It says federal investigators have yet to corroborate any drone sightings with electronic detection. The joint statement said it noted some images of reported sightings appear to show manned aircraft being operated legally. Several New Jersey politicians have expressed their mounting frustration with what they believe to be inaction from the federal government on the drone sightings. Let's see. I saw this. There was one of the legislators out of New Jersey got really mad. He was actually a wartime helicopter pilot, I believe, from what I remember him saying. And he went in. He got called into a meeting, an emergency meeting, where they had nothing. He said he walked down. He was like, "This was the worst presentation with zero information that he'd ever heard." He wants to know, why are y'all not classifying these as a threat? If you don't know who they are, they're going over, military installments, law enforcement buildings. How is this not a threat? Okay, and you don't know where they're coming from. It's making everybody upset. It's Mayor Mike Gasali. He walked away from a Wednesday law enforcement briefing very disappointed. And Assembly members Ron Freeman and Michelle Drula said in a joint release that they have been frustrated by a lack of information and answers regarding the drones. They are the subject of an active federal investigation by the FBI, according to a document from the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness distributed Wednesday for the briefing. All right. So, we even got, Kristen Gillibrand and Chuck Schumer making statements on it. And so anyways, it's a big deal. Nobody's getting answers. It's not a threat, they keep saying. But I think, how's that not a threat? I was given some coordinates, and this has been remote viewed. Okay, so we're going to get into what this is. I think that the data is very interesting. If you would like to see all of the data, it is on my Patreon. And should we get into it, Barry?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just do it. Let's dive in. And it's really interesting because before I sent you any kind of like pictures or data or anything, you sent me, we were talking about this target, and you sent me a video, and then I sent you my stage 3 drawing, and the same exact picture that's in your video that you sent me after I had done this target, did this target, yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. And you sent me that video today. I'd not seen that video before. It was the exact same picture in your video that I had in my drawing, that I did my drawing in, or as my drawing. Okay.
Isn't that true?
It's weird.
It's almost exact.
It's exact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
yes. Yeah.
I was like, that one brother, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm pretty sure there's several people in the chat who own drones and have drones. A lot of people, I don't know the first thing about drones. We have taken drones out several times when we're researching, doing our Bigfoot field research and stuff. And they're amazing. I love having drones. It's great. I've also had a drone that came over our family's farm, And we were about this close to shooting it down. Okay. Sorry, we were, because it was an invasion of our privacy. It was somebody, we don't know where it came from. And it was right in front of our faces. It was like hovering over our lake and like filming us. Okay. So they can be very intrusive. So I think drones are great, but I also think that they're intrusive and they infringe on our privacy. Okay. So
hey, you ever seen that video of that drone that catches that Sasquatch tearing through that property? You know what I'm talking about? It's way up there and you see it running from
down the hill.
I kind of thought that was real. That thing was making a lot of distance awful quick.
Yeah.
The whole Sasquatch and speed thing, Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, let's get into the data. I only have 3 pages of data for this. Okay. And it's pretty straightforward. Okay, as to what this is. I'll just go through some of it here. Okay.
Cool.
So I'm going to go through my sensory data. The sensory part. This is the first part of my data here on stages 1 through 3. Fast, dark, flying, float, covered, hidden, watching, waiting, talented, and skilled. That's what I wrote for my sensory data. Now I'm going to go through some of my analytic overlay. Okay, so this is like what I was, in a literal sense, what I was seeing as I was sensing all of that. My brain was trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Now, some people, you put this in the little box over here and you forget about it. Because a lot of times it's not what your target is, but it's something similar to what it is. Okay. We're really just going for that sensory data, but a lot of times my analytic overlay is the target. It's the way it is. And so we're going to go through some of this. Okay. I kept hearing, I wrote down speed up and slow down. Speed up and slow down. I wrote hoverboard, hovercraft. Those are 2 words that I wrote. Blanket, free falling, cover up, and friendly fire. I started getting into data that involved surveillance and Patriot Act. Okay. Now, I do believe the Patriot Act was put in place after 9/11, I think, and it was for our safety, but it ended up taking a lot of our rights away, our privacy and stuff. That's my opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only. Okay. So surveillance and Patriot Act, no rights, surveillance state was in here as well. Big Brother. I wrote jail and locked up. I wrote down jail and locked up too. That was part of my data. No rights, jail, locked up. And then I wrote down something about the scales of balance, like balancing the scales, I guess. I wrote scales of balance. And my drawing was, I should have gotten a screenshot of what was in your video, because it just looks like a cloud with like raindrops coming out of it. That's what I thought it was a cloud with raindrops coming out of it. I'll show you. Oh, I don't know if it's going to show up or not. It's too bright. My lighting is bad, y'all.
That sucks. Yeah. Try again. Maybe it might if you angle it the other way.
I don't know. Probably not. There it is.
There, right there. Yeah, you can see it there. Yes, right there. Okay. The video that I posted at the beginning of the chat, the 3rd video, it's called Prana or Orgone and Life Energy and UFOs. Go to time frame right at the beginning, time frame 0:14 seconds. 14 seconds into that video and pause it. You'll see a picture that very much is like that. That is actually a picture I took, excuse me, out of the book, The Cosmic Pulse of Life by James Treville Constable that I got back in the 90s. And him and Reich and others were talking about actually how the energy is actually changed and taken from the water by some of these craft. So it's, things that kind of go this, it's a very good representation. So it blew me away when I saw that there. And that's part of that whole thing. I talk about how they make lenticular clouds also with some of that mist that's a byproduct from that conversion process. You've got it right there. That's very interesting. And it tells you that they're trying to back engineering that, because everything you said so far is bringing me down, and it feels like dark in terms of like Big Brother dark, but entertainment only, but just not funny entertainment. Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing: we have to shed light on it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever this is, it's kind of like our duty, I guess, a little bit, because nobody's getting any answers. Someone had the wherewithal to give me this target, okay, and or the bright idea. I think it's a pretty good freaking target, and I think a lot of us are really wanting to know. I mean, like I said, I haven't really been following it. I was actually telling my mom, I was like, I wouldn't even watch that, Mom. I don't know. It's just going to stress you out, and it's just our government doing it, probably. That's what I told her when it first came out, and she was like glued to the TV and stuff, and I think a lot of people are. But let's continue with our data. Okay, so I actually wrote down Black Mirror in my data. Okay, now I don't know if you're familiar with that show. It is like it's what do you call it? It's like where it's like a future AI takeover kind of. I don't say apocalypse, okay, but it's like okay. And actually, when I wrote down Black Mirror, I was thinking about those robot dogs. Okay, and so that was kind of where my data went. It was like robot dogs. Like my sensory data was sitting black robot, square, rectangle, like rectangular, and I actually wrote down AI robots and dog robots is what I wrote down. So like I was in there with this data as like something being robotic, something being artificial intelligence. Okay, but Black Mirror style.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, as you're going through there, they've got that even on the market now, those police robotic dogs. Have you seen them? Like in New York, I think they're all, they maybe are even on the streets now with officers. Yeah, I mean, they're like the ones, some of them came out of Japan, and that's interesting to hear you say that. I mean, that's right along those lines. So sorry, please keep going.
I think it's important that everyone watch videos on the where the motors and on and off switches of those things are, if you know what I mean. The inner workings. Just figure those out. Just for fun. Okay, just find out like where the soft spots are in those things, just in case. I'm just saying. Okay. Just because they're cool. Okay. All right. Anyways. All right. Saying we've got to protect ourselves here. We all have hobbies. Okay. All right. So, but I actually wrote down all fours, but then I heard I heard all fours, and I wrote down sets of four. Sets of four. So all fours and sets of four. And then I wrote down marching sets of, and what I was seeing, I actually wrote down soldiers. And then I wrote down instead of saying the word, I say schmatzi, German. Okay, schmatzi, German, soldiers in formation is what I wrote down. And what I was interpreting, what my data was, I was seeing like those old like World War II videos of like the Germans like marching like in unison. I was seeing that during this target. So I wrote down schmatzi, German, soldiers in formation, and then underneath that I wrote Chinese with a question mark. I wrote Chinese too. So, and then I heard something that was I wrote down dangerous, and actually heard beware. So that was my second page, stage 4 data right there. I also was still seeing like something that was very robotic when I was remote viewing this. I had something that was metallic. So I wrote down like metal is a tangible, and like metallic is some of the sensory data. I wrote down sharper. So I was seeing like sharper image. You know that store? I kept seeing like that catalog, sharper image that has like, my grandparents would always get that. And like, it would have like foot massagers and stuff in it. Yeah. Like stuff like, I think that I ordered some like night vision goggles from there one time, and I had to return them because they did not work. They sucked. Okay. But stuff like that. So I wrote down sharper image and
I used to order
iRobot.
stuff like that in the back of the comic books. They never worked either. X-ray vision. They come these little circles on them. They didn't work.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
The hovercraft did work.
Oh my God. I saw Caleb Jade in here earlier. I just want to say hey to Caleb. Thank you for being here, Caleb. Okay. All right. So I wrote down iRobot and sharper image. And then I actually heard the word Langley. So I forgot to look this up before the show. I think there's an Air Force base called Langley. Okay. Somebody in the chat will know. Langley Air Force Base, or am I wrong? I don't know. It sounds familiar. Okay. But I wrote down Langley and then I wrote down electronics, and then I wrote down Harvard Stanford experiment. Okay. So this is wild. So Langley Electronics, Hartford Stanford experiments. And then I wrote down, because I was getting like electronic kind of data. And then I wrote down human experiment. And then I wrote down, oh, there we go. Thank you, Boss Monster. Hold on. Yeah, it is an Air Force Base. Langley Air Force Base. Okay. So y'all, I don't know. Y'all, I did not look into all this before the show today. So please, y'all do your own research. See if there's could be a connection with any of this. I don't know. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please don't come knocking on my door. Whoever's watching, don't come to my house. I should have thought about this before I said all this out loud. Okay, we're gonna get in trouble.
I'm sorry, I mean to laugh. It's just sorry.
Oh my God. We're gonna get in trouble. This is one of those like, dang, I should have thought about this one a little more before we went public with this one. Okay. Okay, but I've got good people in the chat tonight, and I see who's in here, so we're good. We're good to go. We're good to go. All right, so human experiment. I actually wrote down man-made, something that was man-made, electric, and then I started picking up on a disaster. I wrote down disaster for my sensory data, and I wrote down human disaster components, and I kept hearing I wrote nanotech. Okay, nanotech. So 100% this entire target that I had, that's the end of the data. There's more on here, but that's the main components of the data right here for this. I think it's some sort of, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is probably some sort of like black budget thing, or some kind of, may not even be black budget. It might just be, some kind of experiment, or I think it has something to do with the surveillance state. I think it has something to do with surveilling us humans. And maybe it's just a rollout of some kind of like, I don't know, what's that called? Skynet or something? I don't know. Something like that. I don't know.
That Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Oh, crap.
The few that watched that only went a season or so. And it was really good though. But at the end of it, they started showing how Skynet started making those drones that were the ones that were like what you see flying around in the first Terminator, that Reitz called HKs, hunter killers. They use infrared, so you got to watch them even at night. But yeah, I mean, it's real interesting because when going back and referencing real quick those Chad Dragonfly drones and how they were seen only just at one real brief time, which really is saying something happened that caused these things to uncloak. And what was said is this didn't really come from Carrot, that these are things that have been in our atmosphere for a very long time. And when we start dealing with what really are the machines of terraforming, the ones that things like what Jock Doubleday, our friend Jock, talks about, and some of the things, how that was actually done. When looking at some of those drones, it's very interesting. And so it became a situation of what caused them to become uncloaked for that moment. Or were they just strictly back engineered from Carrot, or both? But I mean, we start dealing with that and these things that are just out of phase, that it's very, very interesting. So anyway.
Yeah. Real quick before we go on, I want to thank, I was talking enough. I missed these earlier. So Randy Petticoat, thank you so much for that super sticker. Hello, the Cryptid Huntress. Hello, moderators. Hello, everyone. This should be an awesome show. Thank you so much, Randy. I appreciate your support. And Kent Baxter, thank you so much, too, for your support. Good times at the Cryptid Huntress once again. Thank you for all the great shows. Thank you for being here, Kent. I appreciate y'all very much. And I also saw your comment about everybody not buying into the fear behind all of this. It does seem very ominous. It does seem ominous. And, and this data, it doesn't scare me or upset. The part that scares me is that Langley thing. And then y'all are putting in the comments what Langley is. I'm like, oh, crap. Yeah. I shouldn't have said that. Dang. But here we are. Full disclosure.
Entertainment only. That's the slogan.
Full disclosure, y'all.
Yeah.
Full disclosure. Like I said, don't come knocking on my door, y'all.
I want to throw something in real quick just to break the tension. Okay. One of you got all these genius people in the chat. I really do mean that. Your chats are great. I've been glancing over there more than I normally would. And somebody, but it's gone now. Somebody made a comment that drones can also be bugs or insects. Boom. Very, very correct. And that's something you can look up, especially, people talk about the modified mosquitoes, but they've got those mosquitoes that are those drones and those spies and that's technology you can actually look up that they've been well in designing for years now, which is the type of insect population that are nothing but drones. And, that takes us into also when you start dealing with things from other solar systems and other dimensions, what a perfect way to put that type of probe here in the insect population. So the modified mosquitoes, not just the ones that are genetically engineered, you got those that are also AI. Yeah. So, dealing on the nano. So whoever said that, I just want to give them credit because they're absolutely correct. And that's not just talking about, that's something that people can look up. It's not just us blowing smoke we're blowing entertainment smoke. I'm sorry, right? Yeah.
Man. Renee, thank you. This is a good, okay, so he's got some intel on the sets of 4. That was in my data, sets of 4. He said also sets of 4, all aimed at enhancing military capabilities in various domains like land, air, sea, or cyber operations. So that's cool. Yeah. Please put your input in. If anything like made sense out of the data and you can make more sense of it, because I'm just channeling the data here. And so there's people in here that know a whole lot more about this than I do.
Yeah, I'm no expert on drones by any stretch.
Yeah.
So
me either.
I know a little bit about the carrot drones things, and that's it. Otherwise, it's But I think it kind of just sucks because now it's getting so hard to see, not just between the CGI and everything and AI, what is man-made, back engineered, and what is from somewhere else, or cryptoterrestrials, or something on a different level. It's getting very hard to distinguish.
Yeah.
Much discernment is needed.
There's Caleb. Hey, Caleb. He says it's called Operation Dragon Rising. Interesting. Caleb would know these things, by the way. Okay. Very interesting. Yes. That 3-letter agency has headquarters in Langley, Virginia. Wonderful. All right. Well, there you go, y'all. And that's why I'm sweating a little bit right now. Okay. Where's data? Damn it.
Go ahead. Talk some more military. So I keep going. Right.
Oh man. So that's the data. That's all my data. I have no more data on that one. Okay, that's it. And it's not alien. According to the data, it's not alien. It's human. And
hey, what that agency or that project that oh god, Caleb just put up what is that a black project?
Oh, that's a good question, Caleb. Caleb, if Caleb could put that in the chat.
I guess I shouldn't be asking that, but I'm curious though. Because I don't know much about that type of stuff.
Renee says, I live in another world where silence is golden. Then again, I can't. What? Okay.
That is true. The power of silence, the code of silence. Renee is
right. Yes. Mystical Wonderlands is drone skeeters. That's what we say down here in the South. Carry injectable poison.
I've heard that. That. In fact, I've heard it was things like, yes. Got cryptosporidium. that they're carrying stuff like that and these different types of bacterias. You know, when talking about some of these drones too, like those Chad drones, sorry, I'll skip over a little bit, those Chad Dragonfly drones and those newer drones, you know, they're also supposed to be not just self-repairing, but self-replicating. And that being some type of terraforming devices that have been in our in our atmosphere and the solar system for, you know, thousands, millions of years or whatever. It's very, very interesting when you start thinking about that and taking on where our science is starting to go with micro satellites and things of that nature, and then becoming self-replicating, and that whole thing that Anthony Sanchez talked about in UFO Highway. He started talking about a lot about the nano satellite grid and how it's run by this thing called Mother. And Mother is the board that actually sends out, actually repairs materials for this thing to be self-repairing. And this thing that he had called Mother. And, you know, people talk about Skynet, and that gentleman wrote that book a long time ago. And they have a thing each year. They used to have the nano grid, the nano satellite grid challenge. It was run by one of those huge corporations. And we start dealing with that type of space junk that's in our atmosphere. Stuff gets really pretty scary and creepy.
It does. Well, all of this is a little scary and creepy. What's going on right now? I'm pretty creeped out about the whole Black Mirror aspect and the fact that those robot dogs came up in my data, and in the surveillance state, and in the Patriot Act was in my data as well. So I think that this is, I mean, why would our federal government, why would the presidential spokesperson for national security say there's no threat? There's no threat to who? I think this would be, I think that whatever's around, I mean, it's a threat to our, what I want to say, First Amendment or something. It's just, or a threat to us, our privacy. Okay. To our privacy. According to my data, it would be a threat to our privacy, if nothing else, whatever's going on right now. Okay. So that's my opinion. And this is for entertainment purposes only. So I think we covered it pretty good. Hopefully I'm cool. Hopefully it's cool.
You sure you don't go through no more of that data, that third page.
I went through all of it. I did. I went through all of it. I did. Okay, so so it's the hardcore raw data combined with my opinion now. So,
you know, I think it's your friend Renee that just said something real heavy. I just caught it when it goes by. She made a comment about aquifers and them being hard to target, and they're having drones dying around them or something like that. But just when bringing up aquifers, you know, when dealing with David Pauletti's map of the 411, you know how, like, through the middle of the United States, there's almost no missing cases, no clusters.
Wow.
And that is, you know, and there's been said that that's because of that huge aquifer that runs through like Missouri and comes down, runs that huge underground aquifer, like one of the biggest ones in the United States. And if for some reason he thinks that makes that area, those states devoid of the clusters of missing 411 people, opposed to the places that have like high amounts of granite and these other, you know, food for thought stuff, you know. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. Whatever she said kind of correlated with that a little bit, just to me. I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you, Renee. I appreciate that. Andrew says that Dragon Rising term made me think of the White Dragon Society. And Caleb wrote back, he says, it's the Chinese war book, World War III. Uh-oh. You know, it made me think. I'm just going to put this out there. I've seen the maps of, you know, there are certain journalists that I do follow. And I have seen maps where there is a lot of, let's just say, I don't know if it's the Chinese government. Chinese have bought a lot of the land surrounding some of our military installments all across the United States and stuff. And I don't quote me on that exactly. I've seen it. Okay, I've seen it on podcasts and stuff. And so it's just something to think about. Okay, it's just something to think about. I don't know if that Chinese word that was in my data. Okay, it was in my data, and I was seeing what I thought was like the Germans marching back in World War II, but I also wrote Chinese underneath it with a question mark. Okay, so for entertainment purposes only. Okay, but it's just something to think about. Okay. Do you want to
What,
move
they're
on?
trying to use some time travel and technology again?
Man, I don't know.
And they're causing ripples in the timelines?
I don't know. I don't
They're
know.
being aided by some type of negative Pleiadian faction that was always trying to help Hitler? That type of a deal?
Oh, I
That's
don't
why
know.
that's why he was obsessed with trying to make that bell, which was time technology actually.
Yes,
Food for
yes.
thought. And not
Yeah.
that, not that right now we don't have maniacs in the private sector that are using quantum tunneling, okay,
Yeah.
propagation, which is sending information backwards through time to try to send back codes of things that change our timeline right now. And to think that that's not happening is naive.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we do understand there's a secret space program. There's the Space Force is operational right now too. I'm very familiar with like the Montauk project. A lot of these secret programs and projects. I mean, I've been right there in the middle of it. I've done remote viewing on some of the aspects of these programs, even Area 51, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We know there's a whole.
Dare I say, I think the real projects we don't hear anything about.
No.
And it's not going to go public. It's not going to be in the community. And you've got these places in the private sector right now. How many of y'all have ever heard about any time technology or institutes that come out of the Digi Hills in India? Probably nobody. That's where the most advanced time technology on Earth is. Food for thought.
That's a lot of food for thought right there. That's cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I do know that there is a statue of Shiva at CERN. Not that has anything to do with that, but I'm just saying at CERN. I know that's not your favorite to talk about CERN.
I just tease you about it because it's just nobody talks about Fermilab and the other places or the Cosmotron and those ones that have been running for a long time. But because John Teeter talked about CERN got really on the map. And that's the bottom line. But now where they're going, and right now we're bringing that up too. Something I won't joke about definitely is when they actually start putting these muon colliders online. That's when stuff's really going to change. And they're building them now. Those muon, forget about CERN. I believe CERN is building a muon collider. That's going to take it to another level. And they start using quantum computers to run those things.
Oh man.
Entertainment only.
I know. I get anxiety.
Entertainment only.
I know. I'm feeling a little anxious right now. I don't know why. Maybe it's just there's a lot.
Maybe we should go to the other targets, man. Haven't we drilled the drones down enough right now? Got enough downer of a vibe? Enough inside information that is entertainment only? I mean, unless does the audience want to keep going through the drones and maybe nail it a little bit more? And I mean, but I think we can switch over.
I think we covered it pretty good. I think we covered it pretty good. We covered it very well. We've gone an hour now, really digging into the drones. I think there's not, according to my data, I don't have much more to say about the drones because I didn't know anything about them to begin with. But with this data, it does very much fall in line with it being some sort of, I don't want to say government program or anything, but I want to say I think they're fully aware of it, and it does have something potentially to do with some sort of surveillance of us. Now, whether it's our government, it's another government, I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. But I did have Patriot Act and things like that, and surveillance state and Big Brother in my data. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so there's that. And with the White House, spokesperson saying they're not a threat, I think there's your answer right there. I think it's got something to do with people that are running things, maybe. Okay, so all right, so let's go to 1950s now, and these interesting targets that you gave me, because I think it's pretty fascinating. Was that the golden era of UFOs in the United States in the 1950s?
I know there's those that flap in the 50s and 60s, a big one.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going down, and I suppose that's when there were starting to be treaties and things starting to be made that are still affecting us today. But like I said, one thing is there's a couple of things that the technology they were using then when taking pictures of these UFOs and things are different, and the trickster type of techniques were different too. So it's a little easier to expose back then than it was before the era of drones. We talk about back engineer, how far back that stuff goes, but you start going back to the 50s, they didn't have the stuff they have now, definitely. It was a whole other thing going on. But these two targets, what do you keep laughing about? What are you laughing about?
I'm laughing at these comments because people are saying that they're getting full off all this food for thought tonight. Eating good.
That's good. We don't want to get no bellyache though. Have to hit up that Alka-Seltzer. Oh,
that's what I've got heartburn.
The Rolaids.
I've got heartburn from all this food for thought tonight. I'm full.
Something I'll go over real quick. Okay, the two targets that I given you, and they're separate, but there's a reason for both of them, because these are photos that have always resonated with me, because I can tell you two reasons that I know that they're real. One, the scientific part of it, and two, that I've experienced something similar. Okay. The first picture, and I gave it to you so you can put it up too, but it's this. It's the 1951 UFO over East Korea, the East China Sea. Okay. And the reasons why, and I've talked about this before, so I won't go over it too much. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. And the reason why I gave this to you, two things. How I know this photo is real. Okay, one is you've got that dome on the top, which is called the directional emitter. Okay, but the other thing, the main thing, and I've spoke about this before, is you notice that intense black void underneath the craft. And also, if you look to the left corner, you see that black void there too. All right. What you've got is what you were showing, like that when one of these craft is absorbing orgone, life energy, from either be a cloud or actually from water itself. Okay. Then they do this conversion process, which is actually turning this type of orgone energy, this life energy, into a gravity modification field. And you see they're releasing it on the side of the ship there around the skin of the craft. And something about this orgone, this life energy, this prana energy, propulsion that runs some of these craft, when back in that day, when you had those type of cameras, that energy creates a negative void on film emulsions. So that when I see a picture like this that's from that era, and you see that great black void underneath the crafts, it's a good indication that that is a real picture. Okay. And that one there is showing when that release that's going on the left, top left, shows that they're releasing that modification around the skin of the craft, and it's about to make a frequency jump, whether you want to say that vibrationally or go through one of these Makos. And I'll say how these craft open Makos when we do the next target. But anyway, so your first target was, I wanted to know what was inside of that. Those numbers for the inside of that craft. And for all I know, hey, maybe you get some automation or something. I didn't know. You know what I mean? It could be anything. You know what I mean? But that's anyway. So I'll let you go over the date, and I'll tell everybody why I gave that one. So that's enough of me talking, because
this is wild. This is so wild, because I was actually seeing, I wrote down a cat being. I was seeing cat beings. You and I have actually, here come the cat beings again, because you gave me that other target of the cryptid or anomalous species containment facility. And I immediately made contact with a cat being, a humanoid cat person. And I was seeing something similar in this data in this session tonight.
You had,
So
you had Black Cat on there. You had
yeah.
Black Cat on there, melanin dominant. And, I just got through posting a picture of a melanin dominant male feline extraterrestrial that somebody had created. It's really
I saw that.
touching deal. And here you're saying that, and we don't know how many did. So please, I'll let you go all into it. Again, you see, I got more of what I bargained for. Not that it was bad.
Yeah,
it just was a little bit more, and it was better even than I thought. So you want to go with the data?
Yeah, I'll go over it. I sure will. This is also in my Patreon as well, y'all. If anybody wants to see it, and
thanks for doing that, by the way, too.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you for giving this to me. It's always fun doing this. Okay, some of my sensory data. I wrote down slow, green, abundant, full, clever, open, clear, fed, crying, erratic, festive, and spots. Okay, now I was 100% picking up on something that was like a cat being, or like something that looked like a big cat or a leopard. It had a leopard type face. I wrote down green planet. That was the first thing I wrote down. Green planet. Planted, and I wrote planted. Cosine. I wrote down bubble. Vast. A plane. I wrote down plane. I guess I was remote viewing this is analytic overlay, so I was definitely seeing something that looked like an airplane. So I wrote down plane. I wrote down controller and controlled. I actually wrote down feed us, and then I wrote down feed us. So feed us and feed us. African cat is what I wrote down after that. African cat. I actually started picking up on data that involved a swamp or a bayou and a swamp animal. And then I wrote down, here's the picture. I'll show you if I can get it to show up on my camera. My camera is terrible, y'all. I wrote down a cat. That's what I was seeing.
There it is. You see it now.
It was like a cat. Yeah. It was hiding. It was hiding in the grass.
It looks like it's more stressed out.
That's because I can't draw.
I'm just kidding.
I am not an artist.
Me either.
I'm not an artist. I have to write down. I was writing down what I was seeing. And what I was seeing was a cat face. Whatever this was had a cat face. And it was looking out. I mean, I guess maybe it was looking out through the glass or something. I don't know. It was looking. It was peeking out of something, but it was a cat face. Okay, so that's my through stage 3. Shall I go on to the stage 4? Okay. I actually wrote down. I was seeing something black and shadowy. I wrote down shadow figure, and I kept getting like New Orleans. I kept getting like New Orleans data, like Louisiana or something, but I was definitely somewhere. It was like outside. I was outside, outdoors. I wrote down permanent. I just couldn't get over like feeling like I was like over water or like a swamp or something, some kind of marshy area. I picked up something that was motorized or electronic, and it was modern technology. That's what I wrote down. So something that was gliding and looked like it was sliding. So I mean that would describe a UFO, I guess. Okay, because it was gliding and sliding. I interpreted it as an airplane because I just wrote down plane. I didn't know what I was looking at, like I said. But was the target the inside of this thing? Like what was the exact target? It was inside.
Inside of it. The inside of it.
I literally wrote propane down too, so I don't know what that has to do with it. But I wrote protein. But it was but I just wrote modern technology and motorized and electronic. I actually shut the session down because I felt like the target. I mean, I just felt like that was enough data because I was like, I'm probably so off target with this. Okay, but when I sent it to you, you were like, oh my gosh, that's wild. So like, tell me why you were so kind of shocked about the data there. What's shocking about it?
Well, I didn't know what was going to come out of it, because whatever that is from a very long time ago, even at least chronologically for us right now. And just that the feline thing came up again caught me off guard. I didn't expect that, and again and again when dealing with these felines, and might I just say, it's become so popular now that they're all from Lyra. And I don't know if that's the result of a channeling or what, but when I start looking at Kemetic stuff, I don't see anything about them being for Lyra in that. A lot of them being coming from Sirius, but I don't know. And then people are even saying now the Thundercats, Thundera was in Lyra. No, it wasn't. It was in a black hole, actually. And another, it was not. There's a place where it actually was. It was not Lyra. So I'm sorry to say it, but the Eye of Thundera and the Star of Thundera was not in Lyra. Anyway, but I'm not disrespecting. They probably do have feline species there too. I'm sure they range all over, but probably maybe a little more than just Lyra. And how many different types of them now that we're dealing with, like for example, when I not had experience with feline energy, but I hadn't technically seen like a feline extraterrestrial. Okay. And I had those experiences at that ranch out there in Washington. And before I went the second year to speak, I had to know what I was dealing with, especially when those ships came too close off that mountain and I started losing a little bit of time, And so I wanted to see like what did my superconscious pick up. And when I did the regression, I'm looking at this craft and I'm seeing this cat being standing there, or what looks like the control room looked like almost a cauldron of a type, and with slate all around it. And this being is standing there with this like a Swami jacket with really high collars, like Buck Rogers of the 25th century with Gil Gerard when they had the dress uniforms. There's real high collars on them. It was like that, and it was really fresh. That gold embroidery on it, and this thing looked to me. It looked a lot like a lynx to me. Isn't it the lynx that has the goatee? But it's standing on 2 feet. And I mean, it really blew me away to see this in this regression, to where it really started me questioning that device and that machine, that device, that ore station inside of Mount Adams. I was like, okay, did that thing scan me? I know I'm not seeing a feline extraterrestrial, and then it sent out one of those orbs that got in my biofield and projected that to me. Got to be very careful when you're around that technology out there that's from old time, using that orb type of technology that can actually alter our perception. It's very serious out there. And I don't think that's the only one of those things functioning around this planet. Anyway, that's didn't answer your question. That's why I was just kind of blown away. I just didn't expect you to go to the cat thing, And again, we hear so much that they're on board these craft that they are also protecting some of these portals of Earth. And I take that serious, and that goes all the way back to the Hindus. The Indians are saying that also. Okay, in India and in the what's the shots. Anyway, point being, with what you've seen on some of these other remote viewing targets I've given you, like the portals of Earth and things like that, blind targets. I don't doubt it now. We know they're trying to weaponize portals, natural ones, and trying to make anyway. So we'll talk about more about portals when it comes to this next target. So anyway, hopefully that addresses that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Knowing what I know now, I would look at UFOs, from I guess like the 50s. I would question, like, I would think personally that a lot of them might be like reverse engineered or something. I don't know, but with this kind of data though, I mean, it's a mix.
At the 50, people couldn't make that stuff back in the 50s. I had a guy who was a friend of my father. He's a few years older than my father. George Boyd was his name, and he was one of the Tuskegee Airmen. He's dead now. And I asked him, I said, you ever see anything weird or anything you couldn't explain, like UFOs? And he looked at me, and we started having a beer, and he told me, he said yes. He said such and such year when he was a younger pilot, he said he saw something that was over another country over there. He said this thing was going like this in the sky, and it was some type of a disc thing that was. And he said, trust me. He said at that time I had flown some of the best, and I saw some of the best technology we had. He said even right now, he said there's nothing we have that could do that. When I saw this thing going.
Really?
And as he said, we just didn't talk about that type of stuff. I said, so this is like a Foo Fighter? He said, no, this is something different than that. He said it was doing more than a Foo Fighter. So, it's just stuff like that does count. And when we start going back so much to before even any of these treaties were made, some of the things that you've seen go back to, before biblical time. So okay. So check it out. Anything else on that one you want to do? You want to go to the other one? So then we've been going long.
Yeah, we'll go to the other one. Yeah, we go to the other one. Are there any other pictures you wanted to show? Because should we show some of these pictures before we get going? Of the next.
I'll tell you. So let me just tell you. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't I just tell? I'll just tell you what. Okay. This here. Okay.
Okay.
This here. Okay. That picture. That was your second target. Okay. And what that is a 1950 picture that was taken by Paul Trent in I can't even say the word, Mickeyville, Oregon. And there was another picture that almost looks just like that was taken around 51 in France. And you can't hardly find that one anymore. And there's also another one similar that I put up that I gave you too, that is the one that was seen in Poland. And I want to say maybe 2004. But anyway, and the reason why I always resonated with those images and that image of that picture, and that's the one part Trent there, is because, okay, one is not you just see the void on that and the void underneath in that picture, but the most important thing on the top, there is something called a directional emitter. Okay, and when going to this picture, the picture is one of my illustrations. If you have that, I thought I sent it to.
Let's see. I've got this one.
Not, that's the one in Poland. You can see the directional.
Oh, sorry. Shall we go back?
That's all right.
Here we
go. That's the one in Poland, I think from 2004. And it's got, you can see even in the different nanospectrums there, you can see the directional emitter on top. And if you don't have the picture of mine, I've got it right here. So
I don't have it. Those are the only ones I have.
I probably didn't send it. I probably screwed up.
Okay.
I was way overzealous. It's this picture. I've shown it a million times. All right. But this is the organic morphing UFO that I saw and I had missing time with when I was about 18. All right. Now, the thing about this is why it's a series, because on top of this, it had a directional emitter. Okay. And this thing was these lights. And it was circulating those, or circular, it was moving. And every time this thing would like come towards me, the light was woo, woo, woo. That's the way it felt like. Okay, like it was tuning me in. All right, now I can tell you something about this directional emitter. They have a dual function to say the least. One is they're capable of emitting a plasma wave that will open up a mako, a black hole, okay? A mini one, probably, most likely smaller, but they open that up with this plasma beam, okay? And before they make this shift in through the mako itself. So that's one function that this thing has to do, because once they open that mako, then they begin riding gravitational waves through the aperture and to wherever they're going. Whole nother thing going on there. Now, the other thing it was doing, I told you, when it was moving, it was woo. What it was doing was it was tuning in my brain waves. And I have talked to you about these black holes, these makos, how they're the hard drives of the universe and how they operate like our conscious waves, and which is similar to our brain waves. How they use microtubules of our brain, the Akashic records are the same thing. I've been talking about this, okay? Now this thing was tuning into my brain waves. That's how it also uses the plasma to open up a void, a mako, okay? And this is stuff I'm telling you, and telling people, and I've been sequestered for a long time, the way, listen, but people want more fantasy. What I'm trying to tell you is some science based here. All right, what I experience on board these craft, and it gets all weird when you're on board one of these things, suddenly you start getting, people call it downloads, but you're getting information because this craft is alive itself. All right. And so it's like, and I haven't been on the ones like these other people are talking about. Oh, I started steering it and I was commanding it to go here and there. This thing was conscious, which is probably sentient as a space organism, millions of years old. I have the impression that it was able to read my soul, my immortal soul life memories, and the other forms I might have had. Okay, I think it's not the first time it recognized me. So this stuff gets really serious. On top of that, they're capable of generating these black holes, sometimes even containing them for a path of most coherency. That's very serious, and I think people understand that. And that's where I think our science is going to go eventually. We talk about really space travel and thing, not just bending space around the craft and Alcubierre type of warp drive. I hear so many people talking about that now. But this is different. This is something different when you talk about going to other universes and things. Okay, anyway, sorry. I got too excited there.
Okay.
I mean, start like I'm lecturing or something. Sorry. I was on Arsenio Hall. Anyway, sorry. Back to that. But so your target was, I wanted to know what was inside of that craft. So your blind target was the inside of, not the one I'm showing, but the one that the Paul Trent picture. Yes, that one. What's inside? What was inside? And again, that's a picture going back to 1950. It's even a year earlier than the other one. So,
okay.
And if you notice something too, that one is about to phase out too. If you see the top picture and you look at the top right, see how it's smooth.
Yep.
Look at the next one. You see that lump?
Oh wow! Yes.
See, it's about to do a frequency jump.
Wow. That's fantastic. That's amazing. You put so much work into your research, Barry. I really appreciate that. And
thank you. That's
really
nice to say. Thank you. Truth is, I'm just a weird, tripped out brother. This is really the real truth. All paranoid, Mr. Paranoia.
Oh
thank you for saying that, though. Anyway, we'll go over the data because I think this will be cool. This one I was unprepared for too.
Well, now you've got a friend who does remote viewing, and we can look into this stuff together now. So, you've got I'm a text away or a phone call away. We'll dive into these things and uncover the truth, I guess, as we know it.
Oh, the very first video I put up in chat is over directional emitters. And I got a bunch of pictures with that one too. So maybe that'll help out for anything. Orgone propulsion is one of those videos too. Another one is mitosis of UFOs, and the others is UFO swarms. The swarms and mitosis kind of go together. Again, that's dealing with living ships and living craft, similar to what I talked about with the NASA tether incident. How you've got those what look like organisms actually moving around. Those might even actually be aquatic craft. Anyway, just food for thought I'm throwing out there for somebody to choke on.
Yeah. Kyle says, bring it on, Barry. Yes. Yeah, you do put out some great videos and stuff. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. And that's why I trust you to give me remote viewing targets, because I know that you have done the research already on a lot of this stuff, and you just have a genuine want to know. You know what I mean? Like a desire to know. And so,
thanks. And it's like you say, it's fun too. Well, not all the targets are in the end, but generally it's fun to do, and it's just enlightening. You know, it's a little way to just gain perspective and to help us go forward. You know.
Mm-hmm. It does. We have a question before we get into the data from Urso. Barry, do you think that this is the base reality or a product of another program that allows the Makos?
Ooh. You know, I just got through listening to Tyson DeGrassi, who I have a few issues with, but he's a brother, so that much counts. Anyway, they were talking about how actually the fabric of our space they believe are Makos that are allowing the quantum entanglement, actually. And you know, that takes it to a whole nother level. And the fact that we are immortal souls that are dreaming to a degree, and the dream that we're having here perceptually, it's got some type of a holographic quality to it, aka Stephen Talbot's holographic universe. You know, and when you start dealing with particle synthesis and why these holograms are as thick here as they are. So I don't know. That's a good question. So actually, their question gives me only more questions. I'm sorry, I can't really answer. But I think it's an absolute possibility. And you know, sometimes it makes me wonder if you start getting into not just string theory, but more into bubble theory and what that individual just said. You know, if you start dealing with these universes within universes, we almost start dealing like, Jessica, you probably know the name of these. What are those Russian dolls, like the doll within the doll within the doll within the doll? You know what I'm talking about?
Nesting dolls. Russian
okay,
nesting
dolls. Yes. And we have nesting black holes when they all come together and make a supermassive black hole, and, you know, which is a Mako. And again, those are the hard drives of the universe and universes. And there again is that connection that individual was talking about. So, wow, great questions. That's why I like your audience, man. They're a lot heavier than me.
Oh, yeah. Well, and this is something that I think we've talked about before. Kent says they appear normal size on the outside, but on the inside, it's huge. Go figure that one out. It's just different density. Okay, that's really interesting. I think you've mentioned that before, Barry. It looks maybe, you know, small on the outside, and you get inside and it's huge, like talking about the craft.
Well, same thing as, you know, same thing that is the Doctor Who principle the TARDIS is built on, time and random dimensions in space. But the truth is, you know, the way it's understood is that the inside and outside are not in the same dimension.
Oh,
so in that way, like, you know, there's an episode of, where's Dennis Carroll when I need him? Is he in chat? There's an episode of
I don't know, he might be.
Doctor Who with Tom Baker, my favorite doctor, and this one was it wasn't the Hand of Fear, it was anyway, point being, it's Leela. It's one of the early episodes. She asks, how is the TARDIS bigger on the inside than the outside? And he explains it. He said their inside and outsides are not in the same dimension. And he takes two boxes, okay, and one of them's much larger than the other. He said, which one's bigger? She said, that one. And he sets it on the console and walks over and with the little one goes, how about now? And she said, it's that one. He said, but it looks smaller. She said, it's because it's further away. He said, yes. So if you have this here and put it there, the big one fit inside the little one. And she looked at him, she said, that's stupid. And he said, no, that's transdimensional engineering. And when you start dealing with that and things like the way I've described how I can only speak my experiences. The craft I've been on board that they describe it being grown as an organism, sentient organism, over a Mako, over a small Mako, and that there's a four composite, or four things involved that make this composite. One is minerals from a planet that's devoid of Van Allen belts and atmospheres. The solar radiation, no matter what nanospectrum that sun is on, makes a resistance in those metals almost unknown here on Earth. That's one. Those type of metamaterials. Two would be what a type of advanced quasi-crystal that we don't have here yet. You know, but there's different lattices that are self-illuminating. This quasi-crystal compound, all right? Then the most important, there is a mycelium component. Okay, there's a fungus mycelium mushroom component. I've been talking about this a long time. People accept it now. I got dogged out in 2014. And okay, and it's not such a joke when I start talking about that now. I might do a live about radiotropic fungus, which is the black fungus on Chernobyl and Fukushima, and how it had to squeeze the robots to scrape it off. And it actually uses its melanin. It's pure black. It's melanin. It converts gamma radiation into the growth cycle, just like the Hulk. And the Quiche Foundation, that no one's ever really seen any of the mechanisms or devices that they put out. We see pictures of them, but no one I know in the free energy movement has ever seen one or actually worked with one. Okay, but Quiche was talking about trying to use the fungus for radiation cleanup. I heard from some melanin doctors that started communicating with me kind of anonymously. They were saying that they thought the radiotropic fungus was sent here from a type 3, 4, 5 civilization that's on the miniature, the Pico, to help us with radiation cleanup. And what if I do a live about this, I start talking about what is a type of a cosmic radiation shielding they're wanting to use for future space projects that involves mycelium radiotropic fungus to absorb the radiation that's coming at people at the astronauts, cosmic radiation wise, and due to the mycelium radiotropic fungus, it's self-repairing. Okay, so that's there. And I've got an article about that. These scientists are trying that. So it goes beyond even than just having mycelium houses on the moon and Mars. Okay, anyway, sorry, I'm getting way carried away. Sorry, Jessica. Okay, the other component would be DNA from the crew. Okay, and these things are life energy, and these are put together into a compound consciously, and then they're grown over these micro wormholes, these MACOs. And that's why the engine is temporal displaced from the rest of the craft. And why someone like me or you, when we're in there physically, having a physical experience there, they're meeting us halfway vibrational, but it's still not enough. And I'm getting really sick there. That's why you see people there in dream body. They're bilocating people. They don't have to have that problem being sick like that and can still interact and have their experience. Okay, anyway, sorry. You want to go to the data? I totally interrupted.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just thinking. So I was also getting my son to give my dog some treats too while you were talking. I'm sorry. So I was thinking radiation. Okay, you're talking about radiation and the mycelium. That's something that we have to contend with when we're out in the field doing our Bigfoot and cryptid field research. Two of my best friends' family they were directed into what we consider to be a portal. Spikes of radiation happen a lot out there, let's just say, and both of them have passed away now at this point. And some of my team members, actually, there's at least one or two of them in the chat today. Some of them who will remain anonymous have gotten some cancer and things on them, and there are people who we go out in the field with a lot. We've had these experiences, and I'm wondering like if that could be utilized in some way, like these mycelium networks have something to do with this radiation, how that can help. I don't know. There's just seems to be a lot of radiation going on this planet. A lot of radiation spikes, especially when anything paranormal, supernatural happens. I wonder how the mycelium helps that. You know what I mean? In some way.
Someone mentioned mycelium only works when it has a ground connection. Not true. The fungal component doesn't always need a ground source. So that's something that definitely can be looked up. It's it's very interesting. Like even in Fukushima, they had no ground source for that. That stuff was growing on the walls. You know what I mean? So it's I'm hoping that what you're saying is correct, and that we'll take it going forward. Even for like, if you remember, really the Fantastic Four, how they became like that was the truth is that originally came out back in the 60s. And they took off out in space. They didn't have enough shielding against the cosmic rays. And that's what turned them into the Fantastic Four. But in reality, what I know NASA hid for a long time is that cosmic radiation degrades brain tissue at so much percent, like every 48 hours or something. And that so long of a space voyage would turn astronauts into mental vegetables. They weren't saying that for a long time. Oh. So when they're dealing with this type of shielding I'm talking about, it could be revolutionary. And that's what gosh, I'll have to tell the exact name of that, but I think it's pretty important.
Well, I'm thinking like, is there some kind of mushroom that we can eat and like some kind of supplement or some sort of like tea or something that we could drink before we go out in the field and experience all these radiation spikes when we're out there doing our cryptid field research and stuff? Like, is there something that
have any psilocybin in it?
No, not that. I don't want no. I sure as heck don't want that when I'm out there chasing Bigfoot. Okay, that's the last thing you want. But I'm just saying of those whatever's in it that's protection.
Hey, real quick, I'll read this off to people so they can look it up. It's BioRivix that did it, the preprint service for biology. It's a self-replicating radiation shield for human deep space exploration. Radiotropic fungi can attenuate ionizing radiation aboard the International Space Station. So that's something people look up. Sometimes I want to make sure people don't think I'm just talking off the top of my head, you know. Anyway,
yeah, that's very interesting.
Things like that, you know, and these new metamaterials that they're making is, you know, who knows? And I would hope to see that it goes further, but you know, since we don't have a firmament anymore, a real one.
Okay, well, let's get into the data for this, okay? Because I only have 2 pages, so it's not going to take a long time to go over it. And so let's get into this, okay? Let me take the comments down. All right, here we go. All right, so with this target, now this is what, I guess I'll pull the picture up while I'm speaking. It's this right here. And let's see these different pictures of it, the different angles. Okay, so with this one, my sensory data included hot, heat, wet, laying, trick, giant, large. Okay, there's a little bit more there, but that's basically it. I was picking up on, I wrote down temperature. I was picking up on something that was almost like a tropical type of a climate. Like I was picking up on something, like I wrote down jungle and rainforest and rules of the forest or jungle. Okay, so I was picking up on something that seemed natural. I mean, not supernatural, but natural. I wrote down lay down. So lay down, divert and divergence. I started picking up on something that was sleight of hand. Like I wrote down parlor trick. A parlor trick, sleight of hand. And I heard like look one way, but it's the other way. Is what I wrote down. Like it looks one way, the other way. I actually wrote down Nephilim for this target. And then I heard Gruit, Grewit, Gruit, and builders. Okay, so Nephilim, I actually wrote incongruent, and then I wrote Gruit underneath that, and then builders. Okay, so that was the first page of my data through stage 3. And then I started picking up, so I went to my sensory data on the stage 4. Okay, sorry. I wrote forbidden and scolded. I actually wrote down ley lines. Was part of my analytic overlay. I wrote down ley lines and soldiers. Forbidden knowledge was in my data. Secrets, secret cult, occult, like the occult. And I wrote down spell work because I was picking up for some of my sensory data was like dark, black. I was picking up on kind of like a magical vibe, but I wrote down spell work, occult, secret cult, and secrets. Something I was definitely in like an open, vast area, and almost like an arena with like, I thought I was seeing something like gladiators. Okay. But this does look like a shield that a gladiator would carry. Okay. So I'm just saying, for what I was given, you know, with the coordinates, I wrote down gladiators and stuff. So, I'm not sure how all this fits with what the target is, because you were asking for the inside of this. And so that was definitely my data. And it did involve the occult, you know. We do know about the Real Society and the Schmatzi Germans and all of their technology, and they were using occult secret knowledge, right, for these crafts and stuff. So, what's up?
Cujo gonna get you over there?
What?
Cujo. She's
just about.
But
yeah.
By the way, you know that was a guy in a suit. It wasn't a real dog most of the time. Cujo.
Yes.
I put a picture of that guy dancing around with Dee Wallace and them. Very disappointing. Anyway, okay, now that's not the one where what really stopped me is somewhere around gladiators, you had giants on there, did you not?
Yeah, well, you asked me to interpret what I thought this was. And so when I analyzed the data, I believe it has something to do with giants and gladiators and something to do with secret occult knowledge, forbidden knowledge. I said soldiers. Okay, so like soldiers, but giants. Yeah, I did say giants. Giant gladiators is what I said. Yeah.
That I found that
giants.
really odd. Very odd. That's what I found odd. Everything else I could accept till you said that. That led me to ask you, do you feel that this target was negative? And your response made sense too. You said no, but everything surrounding it is.
Yes.
And
that was in the first of the data. I said it looks one way, but it's the other. So like it's good, but everything surrounding it is negative. Okay, like it's almost like, dare I say those orbs that make the crop circles or something? It's like it has something good about it, but then it's like being, what do you call it? Like turned upside down.
Sequestered. It makes sense to a degree, because I think that's the reason why those things are being seen all over the world, and that type of craft, and when we start dealing with, it's not the first time that I've given you targets and the subject of giants has come up. You remember the last time?
The pyramids. I remember that one. Who built the great?
I mean, that was, what the hell you're looking at? You're with the mass giants, all types of giants. I mean, that was.
It's all sorts of different types of varieties of giants over there, and UFOs, like ET crafts and stuff. From how I was interpreting it, yeah.
I can't tell you how much better that made me feel to know that you saw multiracial giants.
They're like brown. I was like brown skin giants. And, tanned. Did I say tanned or brown skin? I can't remember. Yeah.
Hey, that's about as original as it could get,
That was in Egypt, right?
But yeah, so that one there, and I wanted to know. So I think it's enough to where we still didn't see actually who's on board that craft, though. But we know it's not, the craft itself is not negative. That doesn't surprise me. But there's a certain point where there was a deal they've been doing. They've been having ways to summon some types of craft. And is that something that happened there by dark magic, and they summon one of those craft? And then, it doesn't stay, or whatever the case is. Because I never felt it was negative either. But I can't tell who's on boarded. And when you started saying giants, and also it kind of makes you think that maybe the craft is bigger than what it appeared, definitely on the inside, but even on the outside. And Trent had taken several pictures of it. And the other one, the one that's the UFO one, that kind of looks so much like that one, you'd almost think it's the same picture. But there's something slightly different about it. But the craft, I couldn't seem to find that one again, the UFO, the France one. Anyway, just I just interesting. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, well, both of these crafts were not being driven or controlled by humans, like regular humans, I don't think. Okay.
Or machines, apparently, right?
They weren't unmanned. There were people inside of them, or beings of some sort inside them. Yeah. And at this point, I mean, I don't know. Every time I hear about a UFO now, I'm like, oh, that's just humans. That's back engineered stuff, But I mean, maybe back then.
Yeah, back then, that's when the game field has changed. You know what I mean? It was different back then. And that's why I think some of those pictures are very interesting, and to see, like for example, how often have you heard people talk about the UMO or the Umites, UMMO or UMMITES? How many times do you even hear people talk about that anymore? There was something that was called the Umite papers, and what they were a group of extraterrestrials. I think somewhat Caucasian, more almost Hispanic type that crashed in the, I can't say this word, the Pyrenees
Pyrenees.
Mountains. Pyrenees, yeah, they crashed there. And they were interacting with those communities around there for a very long time. And they gave these things called the Umite papers. And it's really advanced quantum physics on these papers. And when, what's his name? Stephen Hawking, he would get upset when people would mention the Umite papers. He wouldn't even discuss them. Very interesting, isn't it? Yeah. And there's a book called, I think it's Voyage from the Planet Ummo, UMMO. And they gave a whole ton of information, those people in those communities, the Umite papers. Good stuff to look at and just check it out. Especially some of the things that they said about quantum physics is backing up now, way back then in the 60s.
Wow. Yeah, I've not heard of that before. I had not heard of any of this.
I almost gave them to use a blind target, to be honest with you. Several times I've almost done that. But I just said no. If I had $1 for every person that has asked me to give you a target, I'd probably have about several thousand dollars.
Oh my gosh, yes. Here's some treats. Yeah, I know you get inundated. That's funny. I just had my buddy Drewski just sent me a message last night or yesterday, and he was like, if you only knew the amount of people that come to me to try to get in touch with you. Like, so he got people going to him to try to get in touch with me, and I got people sending you targets. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm kind of hard to get in touch with, apparently. I can't keep up with all my messages. So but yeah, I mean, we could start a business with this probably, Barry. Who knows?
Well, yeah, you could. I mean, it's cool because a lot of it, some of this information is good and helps people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not always about finding the serial killer. Sometimes it's just knowledge because a lot of it plugs some things in, and I'm just going to mention it anyway. And I'm convinced, and nobody can tell me different. You've got some remote viewers out there that are very well known, and they're being influenced by negative entities. The same way that we hear voices, you can hear voices that aren't your own thoughts. You've got false visions that can be sent by these negative entities. A lot of them have given us our religions, okay? It's very foolish to think that we don't have those entities that are aware of remote viewers and always have been and are doing things to thwart that. So I think that when using discernment on the information you're getting from these people that claim to be remote viewers that don't tell you even what techniques they have or what training they've had like you do, okay, but they make these claims like these and people listen to everything they're saying. And then you meet, some of these people in person, they're dark people. And what are they using to defend themselves from dark energy and dark entities and earthbound spirits? Really?
I don't know.
Outside of being seen here like you and I are being seen now, what are they doing? How are they dealing with that really? Are they under attack by negative entities in their life? Have they always been? That's all right. They can remote view and just tell you anything. Push a little sex with it is good.
Oh,
anyway,
no.
Anyway, no more of that. Anyway, black holes or Bacos, was it drones? What was it? Sasquatch? Was it?
Well, you know what, Rob, I wanted to bring this comment up because Robin says mentions Brad Olson. I had Brad on the show yesterday, and he mentioned he was talking about the USOs actually from the oceans, and that's something that came up in that congressional hearing, right? They're talking about how extraterrestrials are basically coming out of our ocean or our spacecraft. You and I have actually already talked about it publicly on a show before. We've talked about it a bunch of times about USOs, but they're talking about how ETs live in our oceans and stuff. The oceans is not outer space. They're right here on Earth, but that's something that we have been talking about for years. We've known each other for a couple of years now, 2 or 3 years. I've always said that. So have you.
I enjoyed that show with Brad Olson. I really liked Brad. I met him several times now. I've always had really good interactions with him. He sent me a message after y'all got done saying, hey, man, it's glad to see you in chat. really good guy, man. Really good guy, and he's got good information too. So I was really glad to see you had him on. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. He's been to Antarctica, dude. I had to bring him on. So much goes on in Antarctica. You know, I was kind of asking him about the Buzz Aldrin stuff too down there, but he's experienced a lot of stuff. Like Brad's the kind of guy like me. Like he gets an opportunity, he jumps on it to do anything wild and crazy like that. I would, if I got the opportunity, I'd be in Antarctica tomorrow. I'd go there tonight if somebody was like, "Hey, let's go to Antarctica."
I remember in Grafton, he was doing this presentation, and you tripped out because he had something that was a crashed UFO that you remote viewed, and it was in one of those odd countries at some latitude or something. I remember looking on your face. That was really fascinating. I can't remember all of it because it was pretty heavy, but that was really interesting, I thought.
Yeah, I've remote viewed a couple of crashed UFOs before, for sure. I got one crashed UFO back when I was learning remote viewing. Okay, and so yeah, that was interesting. I don't know.
You know, when we start dealing with one is technology that's capable of errors, and if you're dealing with cryptoterrestrials that are right here with us, that's got to happen a lot more frequently than we think. You know, and the two would be how many of these crashes are fully staged to change our timeline and to create rifts.
I never thought of that.
Stage ones? You know, when it comes to the real whistleblowers, I feel concerning those crashes, the two that always stuck out to me the most is Clifford Stone and Robert Dean, and their interviews are still up. It's hard to find them; they weren't quite as numerous as they were, but it's really interesting. We start listening to what those gentlemen were saying, and you know, when they're at the end of their life like that, that's when people really start quote unquote blowing the whistle. You know, but Clifford Stone was everything that Corey Good says he is, which is totally in question from his own testimony. He screwed his own self over. But Clifford Stone is a different deal. He's saying he was doing that long before myself or Corey or any of that was born. So it's just, worth listening to. And what he calls about the 69 species, like Heinz, was it Heinz, or was it 57? Heinz 57, is that right? Yeah, he's 57 extraterrestrial.
57, yes.
Yeah, Heinz. Yeah, the Heinz 57 is what he had called it.
Yeah,
was here. And when he talks about that interacting with the being that we would say is kind of the same deal that J-Rod is supposed to be, but then that gets so muddied. I've seen those videos. It's supposed to be J-Rod sitting in there. You don't know if it's an alien or not, and they're saying it's jacked up. That didn't look real to me. I don't want anybody to get mad at me, but it did look real, and I bought that about as much as I did the Sasquatch stuff. I just didn't buy that one either. I said, man, I'm going to escape from this Sasquatch. They've got all these abilities, but I'm going to get loose because I'm going to get the alpha to take a couple of bites, a couple of snuffs. And I noticed that they're going to get so choked out of the snuff that I'm going to run out of the cave and get away from these speedsters. Yeah, I definitely buy that.
that's funny.
And then somebody got mad and said, Barry, it wasn't Big League Chew. Well, how do you know?
Big League. My son chews Big League sometimes. That's like, it's like the gateway to like chewing tobacco. It's like he just goes get this. He wants those candy cigarettes and Big League Chew. I'm like, where are we going with this, kid? Okay.
Yeah, I've chewed once in my life, and my friend didn't tell me it's not like Big League Chew. It don't taste like, but you don't swallow it. I swallowed that stuff. I tell you, there was a stream of puke going down the side of his house. His dad was so mad. Yeah, so it was, I will never touch that stuff ever again.
Oh, Barry, I'm seeing some of these comments in here, and I forgot. Hey, Beth, we met Beth at the Journey to Truth conference. She says she mentioned the portal. Have you heard about this with the Pope? Okay, she says, I should RV the Pope opening the 5 portals in the Vatican incisive. What does it say? Incisive. The Lucifer portal. Doing this on Christmas Eve. I saw that, Barry. Have you heard about that? They're talking about
No.
opening up the 5 portals. I don't know if it's been done before. They do it every 25 years or something. They said the quarter century portal opening, from what I read. It sounds crazy to me. I don't know. Like, what would be the purpose in opening all these portals? I don't know enough about it to speak on it tonight, but I do think it's really weird that they're doing that on Christmas Eve. Why would they do that?
Is it gonna be like recorded?
I don't know. I'd like to watch that. Let's just see what happens. I don't know, because your TV's a portal. If you watch it, it could come through your TV set, right? Like Black Mirror style. Like Sherry Dimpman's testimony. You remember that?
Oh yeah. I've heard so many things connected to the underground underneath the Vatican, and you've had some remote viewing things that goes that way, all the way down to there being some of the channels there for submarines and things, the underground water channels.
Oh,
it was connected to the missing 411 people,
tunnels.
The water deaths. Yeah,
yes.
That was another one of those targets. Yeah.
I mean,
the missing 411.
Barry, there are submarine bases in Nevada, like in the desert. Like, why would there need to be a submarine base in the desert? It's underground. Channels underground. Submarine thing. It's all in like inner earth underground kind of stuff. Makes you wonder.
It for a long time, a lot of people are talking about mycelium and mushrooms and things. When dealing actually with just spores themselves, that's why I think McVeigh went into that quite a bit, and also Rupert Sheldrake. They talked about, and what they say is true. Actually, psilocybin spores are resistant to cosmic radiation, so they're capable of intergalactic travel. And if you want to send a real probe somewhere, a symbiotic probe like that actually is symbiotic with the nervous of the planet, especially the tree system, which a lot of these craft are too. They're in communication with the mycelium of the tree network of the earth. And I've talked a lot about how a lot of these craft, when you see them going into the ground, not just are they manipulating solid stone technology, but a lot of them are going down to the deep biosphere, which we don't hear a lot about scientifically. The deep biosphere is where there's like 95% of Earth's undiscovered bacteria and fungi. It's like an ocean between us and there, the deep biosphere. So a lot of times some of these ships will be going to that. We don't hear about that.
Oops. Sorry, I muted myself. Like Brazil, like stuff like that. Remember that target you gave me? That was an interesting one. Some kind of vessel that came up from inner Earth.
And I've been saying that for years. You had no idea that's what I thought those things are. You know what the target was, let alone that. But I mean, what you saw so much is that exact thing. And if there's several of them, when you start looking at those phantom islands, you've got what, Antilles and High Brazil and just a few of them. But the ones that only come around every 7 years, all the way where we start seeing that in entertainment. When people went to Skull Island, at least in the first King Kongs, before they made a movie of it, Skull Island was surrounded by mist, very foggy, and then again, that's the byproduct of that conversion process we've been talking about that you've got a drawing of. But I think when High Brazil and them come up, I think they're also using the sun to re-energize those solar charged crystals.
We have a question, Barry, from Robin. She says, any coordination between fungi and octopi? Octopuses?
Not that I know of, except that they both possibly are extraterrestrial. That's the big thing now. Octopus are probably not from Earth, even to the point to where they did that show, Resident Alien. He's supposed to be a cousin of an octopus, to the point of where he even goes in the restaurant. the octopus in the tank is talking to him. They're telepathically talking. He said, "Man, I'm about ready to get ate up in here. You get me out of here?" You know, that type of a deal there. He was at the bowl. He's a bowling alley smoking a bowl with his two female friends. He goes to the restaurant. The restaurant, the octopus is putting his tentacle up there and communicating with him. He said, "Man, they're about to serve me up as the main course. And you're back there smoking bowls?"
Oh my gosh.
And then he runs into a place, and you've got Giorgio Salakis sitting in there, and they're talking about things, and you know, he's saying to the girl, "The gray aliens, oh, they're not what they think, yada yada." And every species he'll go over to say something to the girl. And then the very last one they talk about, and then there's the blue avians. He leans over, "They owe me money." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" They put that on the Sci-Fi Channel. Just, I was sitting up there. Suddenly, I went from being entertained to being appalled. It happened just like that.
Oh man.
Sorry, I was cracking jokes. But outside of that, I don't see really a connection between them. But take it a little bit further, Robin. On my channel, there's a video called Mana, Mana and it's a few Mana videos, but Mana, I think, is a being that deals with coral and what its connection with Earth and the Earth matrix is. That you know, I wondered why this being wasn't still in my life to a degree. So I woke up one morning, tripped out on coral bleaching. I didn't know what that was. This is before I went to Australia, and how the coral reef is dying. Okay, so then that takes us into something called supercoral that the scientists are making that is repellent to the bleaching effect. So when seeing this connection between Mana and this brain coral, which is what this being's head looks like, is brain coral, solid brain coral, is this a type of a coral that is from the past and became sentient and then went galactic? Or is it from the future? The super coral that evolves and goes galactic. Or to quote Tom Baker, doesn't matter anyway. Food for thought, though. You know, so that different, I think different representations galactically that we might have. So I'm not saying she's wrong at all. I just don't know if there's connection between them. But I think we've got even more than that when we start dealing with these seafaring races and things, you know.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You guys, you can find videos about stuff like this on Barry's channel too, Barry Littleton on YouTube, you guys. And we got one more question tonight, and I got to put my kid to bed here in a few minutes. So, J Truth Seeker is asking, have I ever remote viewed the year 2030 and beyond? I don't know. I guess you can say I have, kind of. I mean, I've remote viewed off planet and stuff, and it seemed like it was in the future. I mean, I don't know what is time, anyways. I have no idea. Time is but an illusion. So I don't know. You know, I've got a lot of targets I get. I have no idea what they were, so I may have. I'm sure I have at some point, but there's nothing that I know of that I could tell you about it. So I don't know. What do you say to that, Barry? Because I've remote viewed a lot of stuff for you.
I think maybe you should remote view CERN in 2030. Hey, J Truth Seeker. Man, I think he's on my YouTube channel. Check it out, man. I have a video. If you do, send me a message. I'll send you a video that's only on my Patreon, but it's from one of the Art Bells back in the late 90s when he would do the wild card line, the time travelers over the Rocky Mountains in the wild card line. And he had this gentleman that called in 2 times, 2 different occasions. And he said he's from the year 2036. And I mentioned before, this is not John Teeter. This was somebody else. And the guy starts saying he came back here to help with Operation Southern Cross and Operation Black Swan. And he calls Art the second time. He said, I'm calling you now because I just heard myself talking to you. He said, but I just made a time jump. So for me, it's just been a few minutes. But for you, it's probably been a couple of years. And he starts describing the type of vehicle. And at this point, Art's going, oh, my God. He started really getting Art, you know, and he starts saying what type of a vehicle he had. He called it like a triple layered transdimensional vehicle. and
I
he
want
was
one.
saying things. I've got that. I'll let you listen to it, Jessica. It's quite interesting, isn't it? I'm not saying it's necessarily real, but he opened that line up for those people that were real time travelers, and he tried to screen out the flakes. But yeah.
Yeah, those are some super interesting call-ins, and they became my favorite Art Bell shows, honestly. Like the ones that I've listened to. I mean, you have actually given me several remote viewing targets that were based off of calls that came into Art Bell's show, from Mel's Hold to I don't know. I even remote viewed that Bugs, the guy in Texas that claimed to have unalived 2 Bigfoots and stuff. They're all in my remote viewing playlist. If you guys want to go back and check out any of those.
I think that
Mel's Hold is
Mel's Hole may be the most popular one we've done.
It is.
Interestingly enough,
It
the
is.
bugs thing that was interesting too. I kind of always thought that was real to a degree. And that's what your data showed, didn't it? That was real. I thought, didn't it?
Yes, 100%. Yes, I believe that happened. I believe that he shot 2 Bigfoots.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I buried them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
And
since then, I've met people that I do believe have probably unalived Bigfoots too. So it is possible that they're flesh and bone too. So
well, he had said when he called back in like years later when Art like re-interviewed him or something, and he said that he had moved like twice and way away, and he said he was terrified. He said the Sasquatch was following him far, far away from where he was before. He said that he was sure that it was their family and they're after him, and they probably always would because he killed family members. It kind of reminds me of old Tom Powell. He tells me he says, man, I was at this place out near Mount Rainier. There's a ranch out there, and it's so active. And I was trying everything. They're avoiding the cameras. I'm out there beating sticks till 4 a.m. Nothing's happening. I get done. I drive home. He said it was 2 hours from Mount Rainier to where he lived. And he gets home just before dawn. He's taking his equipment out of his trunk, and he gets return knock from his property. And he said, man, Barry, they were effing with me. He said, I was out there banging on sticks like an idiot, effing with them, and I get over, they're effing with me. So you take that. And he's looking at me. He's looking at me real funny, He goes, will you tell me how that happened? He goes, unless they was running like the Flash at super speed, they would have to be using portals. And he looks at me and said, unless it's like the 100 monkey thing. Are you familiar with that? I said, actually, I am. That's the drumming on the islands, right? He goes, yeah. He goes, unless they're using the 100 monkey, it would have to be portals.
Yeah. We talk about portals all the time. That's how you and I bonded when we first met. We're talking about portals and cubes. Okay, so there's something to it. I do have a wonderful comment from Kent here, and I appreciate this. And thank you for putting this up. He says, I've heard the testimony from someone who was able to use a looking glass technology and saw the Earth in the golden age and basically utopia in 5 years from now. So let's go to that timeline. Okay, we're living it. Let's start living this timeline. If you're not already living it and you're not already expecting this, it's time for us to start expecting this. Okay, expect the best, not the worst. And I appreciate that, Kent. Thank you for letting us know that. Because
now looking glass is just modified chronovisor, correct?
Yes,
etheric chronovisor.
I think it's something like that. Yes.
I believe that. I've showed that picture before of those Nordics I encountered, and when dude waves his arm, I can see my city. And this thing is the windows. How most of those ships don't have windows because they're organic. I think that was a time ship, and I think what that room was, those windows you see on that craft are actually chronovisors. And what they're doing, why you can see through like that, is because that's the perfect way to record the past without interacting. You know what I mean? Whatever temporal law there is, there's something going on.
Yeah. Cheeky Blue says, when Art Bell gave a warning before his show, if you're too scared to listen to it. Like when Art Bell gives you a warning before show, if you are too scared to listen to it, yeah. I I do miss those shows. I used to stay up late
Yeah.
at night, or if I couldn't sleep, it'd be on the little clock radio beside my bed. Listen to that clock
You know,
radio.
yeah, most of his shows weren't that like that too much, except for the ones when he had Gordon Michael Scanlon on there. Those were always just supposed to be the scariest. And I tell you, only like one earthquake that guy ever predicted came true. And he got famous on that behind that art. Look at all his other predictions. That map we have, that didn't happen, and it probably will not for a very long time. Eventually, the Earth will screw us over. Eventually, they'll take a psychic to know that. The other one would be, was it Mad Markham that was going to fry his balls with that electricity? He's trying to create portals or whatever. That was another one. And then he had the guy on there that would talk about, that wrote the book about actually Ebola, and the movie. What was the first movie with Dustin Hoffman about Ebola? But the guy had it on there, and the name of that book was, oh God, I should remember that. But it was terrifying because no one really heard about Ebola and what it did at that point and how transmissible it was. So that was one of those Art Bells there that, boy, it was one of the ones you didn't want to hear. Man, yeah. And, of course, our buddy Ed Daves, his were definitely no Mr. Sunshine episodes either.
The remote viewer. Yes, the remote viewer. Good information, though. Good information. And
Oh, it was great.
it really, those shows really did and have and still do today, still elevate the consciousness of everybody on this planet and open us up to the possibilities of the mysteries of the world being, Bigfoot being real, portals existing, time travel existing. It's amazing.
He was a trailblazer,
Oh, yeah.
I'd asked Jimmy Church. Jimmy talked quite a bit even before I was on the show. I said, "What was Art Bell like?" And he told me, "He's got that voice, Barry. I never actually met him." I said, "Really?" He said, "No, I never met him." And when I was talking to Leonard Moulton Howe, at that conference, we were having lunch. I said, "So what was Art like?" You know what I mean? She's like, he was kind of recluse, but he was really an amazing person. And we started talking about that Bigfoot yell that she'd given to him. And when I was at that Ascetti Ranch, they were yelling through the mountain ranges. That is as close to what I had heard, what she had played on that show. And I think that came out of Washington somewhere, those yells. Anyway, just food for thought again.
Interesting. Yeah. Man, we've had such a fantastic chat tonight. Everybody goes above and beyond with the comments and all the knowledge that you guys have. It means the world to me that you guys are here with us tonight. I want to thank everybody so much for being here. Barry, do you have any final thoughts on all of these wild drones and UFOs, everything we talked about tonight? I know I'm just waiting for. I'm not waiting for it because I'm not going to manifest it. But
Jerry Lane,
or
Andrew Basago met Art Bell. I've heard that story. I can't say I buy it, but I will say something, Jerry. Have you not noticed something though? When you follow the timeline, Andrew Basago was the very first person to say he was dealing with that time travel type time agent thing or temporal commission type of a deal at all. And with the government, he was the first person to say that, and everybody else just seemed to ride his coattails. Just being honest. I noticed it decisively. He was the first person to talk about Montauk and all that stuff. So, I mean, it just makes the waters very, very muddy. You get the original person, how many people after that are, because you've got this hive mind. One person experiences, you have all these other people. Oh, that happened to me too. It was just a different reality. No, that's called a hive mind simulation, a working neural network. Anyway, sorry, but it's killer. They said that. I'd heard that before.
Interesting.
And it was proven that Art Bell was working at the place where Andrew said he was. Art refuted that, said it wasn't true before he died, but he did work at that place.
Mm-hmm. This is an interesting comment too. Colleen says, wondering if I could ever remote view 2038 is an important date on indigenous calendars, like huge, 1,000-year cycle and bigger and other bigger cycles too. Yeah, that'd be something interesting to remote view. So we're getting the suggestions tonight of 2030 and beyond, and 2038 as well. I'm manifesting the highest timeline possible for myself, and we're going to let's all put our effort into that. Okay, put only good thoughts, high vibrations. I see Chiro sounds. Hey Jane always says to keep your vibrations high, everybody.
So Jane, how you doing?
Yeah, so man, this has just been a wonderful show, and I hope that everybody learned something tonight. I know I did, and I hope that we got some answers with those drones. I hope so. I mean, in the end, it's just remote viewing data. Okay, it's just data, but it makes sense. It all makes sense.
Data is a great place to start. It takes some of the fantasy out of things. You know, we got to be careful because people want fantasy.
Yeah.
The gatekeepers of these communities want fantasy. You know that.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we have to keep our head on a swivel. Each of us keep your head on a swivel. Just be aware of what's going on. You know, think in terms of having a higher timeline and living in this beautiful utopia in 5 years in the golden era of humanity. You know, that's what I'm looking forward to. And yeah, the world has just gotten really wild, and I think things, from what I've been told, astrologically, things are going to get kind of dark for a little while before they get brighter. And I believe that this year might be a little wonky coming up from what the astrology of it. And I'm no astrologer. I only follow astrologers online. Okay. So, but it sounds like this next year might be a little wonky, a little crazy. But then there's going to be healing. And then we're going to go into a golden age of just good stuff. Okay. And so we're in this period right now of things being wonky. Okay, and that's where we're at right now.
You know, but it's not going to be like this. I think people should pay very close attention to the sun and what the sun's doing. If there's going to be a real major change that comes up on us, it's going to involve the sun.
The portal?
No, just the sun as an entity itself, period. I mean, as far as things that it could do to the earth, to us. Okay, and also how it can also almost change nanospectrum and frequency for us. And the sun's acting very erratic. We've had some real odd solar cycles. These are things, you know, something really massive is going to happen. I'm not trying to be Ed Dames, but I'm just saying that if we're going to go through a real frequency change also, the sun's going to be the first thing that shows it.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. You've had me remote view the Earth's weaponized portals, and I ended up on the sun.
That was a bad idea. Jesus.
Yeah.
that's probably the one I especially got bored when I bargained for. That one. Man, yes. I mean that target was supposed to be Earth related. It went to the sun. It went to those dark forces that are dealing with that. And that takes us into those cubes. It's so odd, of all the targets we've done, no one ever talks about that cube you remote viewed that's seen on Soho. Yeah, people don't talk about that and what you saw on board there. I mean, it was. I mean, I would have felt better if you would have said it was Borg.
Yes.
Star Trek people get that, but yeah, I mean that's pretty frightening. Wherever that thing came from, that's frightening because that thing is a little bit bigger than Jupiter.
It was huge. It was gigantic. It was Machete. Happy birthday from the Cryptid Huntress and crew. Hope you have a good birthday. Thank you for tuning in on your birthday. And it's my birthday, Glenn. I'm alive.
How do you pronounce the name?
Machete.
Like Danny Trejo?
Yes.
Machete? Yeah. Oh, gotta love it. He's doing a paranormal show now. Machete is a paranormal host. He's also on bar rescue. Machete's getting all kinds of. Yeah, that's what I want Johnny Trejo to come save my bar. That's how that works. He yells at people like he's John Taffer. It's a trip. I like Danny Trejo though. It's all right.
Yes, that's funny. That's funny,
Happy
man.
birthday to them, though.
Thank you. Yes, happy birthday, Machete, for sure. And yeah, I want to thank everybody so much for being here tonight. And comments are still rolling in. Hey, Steve, thank you so much for all your support. I do appreciate you. And yeah, it's this has been another fun one, Barry. Another one on the books. And yeah, we have more work to do. We got more work to do, more targets to hit. And yeah, I need to do a little bit more digging into like Langley and stuff like that before I go live on shows, probably.
Well, how would you know? I mean, I wouldn't have known either. I mean, unfortunately, you got people that are so military, abreast.
They're just in the know.
I wouldn't have known that either. I mean, and it's like you always said, it's just for
yeah.
So I said, stay prayed up. Definitely stay prayed up. Keep your shields up. People like us, we have to really put up our shields every day and reinforce them every day. Because if you don't, they'll attack you in ways that collapse your shields enough to where they can get in and go for your heart chakra and drain you that way. And you know how they do that? They jump into people around you and start attacking you through them. So definitely stay prayed up, stay shielded up.
Yes, for sure. And Chicky Blue says, George Norrie always says, do something to strengthen the grid. Yes. I love me some George. I had a really great interview with George a few months ago. So if you guys missed that, y'all go find it. It's on Coast to Coast. Barry and I are both alumni of Coast to Coast interviews. That was fun.
Yeah, that's it's a very interesting experience being on there, isn't it?
It is.
Very interesting. Because I found like the interview I did on there, I was with Jimmy Church on that one. I've been on Fade to Black several times, and the interview style that he does on those two was different. They're both good, but the interview style he does on Fade to Black is really good. Having met him in person, because the first time he had me on there when I was still at the ranch out there before I went home. And so I did an office out there, and I was really shocked at what a good interviewer he was. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
oh yeah.
And again, the James Earl Jones voice helps. I was like, man, you should go ahead and put your lot in to try to be the new Darth Vader. Earl said he's not gonna do that anymore. You should try to do it, man. He's looking at me. He goes, "You think so?" I said, "Why not? Hell, you got a pretty deep voice. I would, or at least try to be a voice actor. Get us on the Justice League. Maybe you can be the new Batman." I am Batman. So.
I'm Batman. Barry, where can people find you? I mean, I know I have it on the screen, so I shouldn't be asking you. Just tell everybody. YouTube and Patreon. Would you like to tell the audience about it?
Burning in hell. Would you like to join me? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street, the series. Anybody remembers that from the late 80s? Oh, boy. Anyway, it only lasted about one season. Anyway, you can find me on Facebook under Barry Littleton. YouTube is a big one, Barry Littleton. No handles or anything. I'm still on Patreon. I'm going to change things up on there and try to probably maybe talk to people live on there or something because I've added videos. So those are the places to catch me. I'm also on Instagram under Barry Littleton. I need to probably expand more, but those are the main places. My email for any services, hypnosis or readings or a consultation is barrylittleton13@gmail.com. Well, awesome. Right there. Thank you.
Yes, and we've had a person or two in the chat saying that they recommend you highly for hypnotherapy sessions and things like that. I saw those comments in there. I caught most of them.
Thank you. I worked with a few of your people now, and it's really a pleasure. And all I can say, no matter how many of those I do, I'm always blown away every time because they're all so unique.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I told you I have the best audience over here on the internet, and very supportive crew of folks right there. And They love Barry Littleton. Everybody loves Barry. I love Barry Littleton. We all do. And so, Barry, thank you so much for being here and for giving me these great targets.
Hey, thank you for having me, and thank you for doing them. I know you get bombarded, so thank you.
I do. Well, people have a hard time getting in touch with me apparently because I just all my boxes stay full, all my inboxes and stuff. I'm just really busy, so I apologize, everybody, if anybody's been trying to get in touch with me. I'm just super busy right now, and I will try to get back to my emails and stuff one day. I promise. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to because my friends are getting tired of being like, Jessica, so and so needs to get in touch with you. So, anyways,
I know it is. I mean, you literally burn the candle at both ends all the time.
I do.
That's really what it is. Yeah. You're a mom.
People don't understand I'm a mom too. So like that comes first. Okay, but
any one of those things is full time.
Yeah. Yes. For sure. But I do get asked like regularly to like remote view stuff for people, and I try to get some of them sometimes, but it's just hard. It takes a lot of my time, a lot of my energy to do remote viewing. And so I like to do the remote viewing targets and that we're going to be doing, we can do shows on and stuff, like important stuff like we talked about tonight. That's really what I'm trying to get in. Okay. And I don't have a lot of time to do anything else right now. So I apologize, everybody. It's trying to get in touch with me about it right now. Maybe one day when I have an assistant or something, somebody to help me organize stuff, we can expand. But right now I can't. I'm too busy. So, but anyways, I think we're doing a great job. Okay. Everything's wonderful. And thank you. All right, everybody. Well, y'all have a wonderful night. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you guys haven't already subscribed, if you're listening to this for the first time. Also, I do have a podcast, the Cryptid Huntress, on podcasting platforms. Y'all go check that out too. And you can listen to me there. And I'm also, I stream live on Twitch. I'm brand new to Twitch there, and on Facebook and on YouTube is where we're streaming live tonight. So thank you guys so much for all the support, for being here. And please come back and see me on Saturday night. We'll be going on the hunt Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And yeah. And I've got some great, y'all. I have the best guests lined up for the next couple of weeks too. So don't miss a show, y'all. Every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we have live shows here on the channel. Okay. And Barry goes live too over on his channel. So, okay. Well, Barry, you got anything else before we go?
You just can't hear me most of the time. I used to have to do the lip reading on me. No, that's about it. I just want to say thank you to everybody in the chat again. I try to look over and kind of converse a little with some people, but just move so fast. And thank you for everything you do and for having me on. Much appreciation. This was a lot of fun tonight. So.
It was a lot of fun. It was big time. And thank you to all my moderators for putting all those links in the chat all night. I see y'all in there. Thank y'all so much. And it means the world to me. All right. Well, you guys have a great night. Please stay safe out there and keep your eyes to the sky and know what's going on. Know what's going on. And if you miss the first part of the show, y'all go back and watch it. It's very important. I think it's important that we all know this information. Okay. Entertainment purposes only. You guys have a wonderful night. Barry, I will see you next time. All right.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all. We'll see you next time.